Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Friday night. It is December 6th. The winter has started. It is freezing cold out there, but that ain't stopping us now. The Ghost Files is back. It is good to be here. Thank you, everybody, for the hanging around after that previous long delay. I have been gone for a few weeks, but I do appreciate everyone hanging out and coming to hang out with me Friday night. Yes, we're back. I finally have some energy back to stream on some Fridays. I'll get into some stuff in a little bit, but before I do that, I want to jump over to the chat. I want to say hi to a few people. I know Mitch isn't here yet, but he did drop by before. Ali's, of course, here. Lamontre, Steve, Mardina, good to see you. Ethan, as always. Here, let me click on some names. Let me get some names up here. Steve DMV, Lamontre, Ali Girl, Mitch the Ripper. Oh, Anna's in the chat. Good to see you, Anna. Thank you, Ali Girl. It is good to be back. It has been a quiet few weeks at Womp Stomp Films. We just recently finished up Never Hike Alone, the Final Cut Kickstarter, which was successful. I think it's currently at around $73,577 with 677 backers. So pretty impressive for a post campaign. But the campaign has unlocked a lot of different things for us to do, which I'll get into in a little bit. But if I haven't said it yet, because I don't even remember what I said on the last Ghost Files, it feels like so much time has passed. We went through Thanksgiving. I went to VHS horror show, had a good time. So let's go over some stuff. What's going on at Womp Stomp Films? What's the big news? What have I been up to? And what are we up to in the coming year? We're so close to 2025. We can almost taste it. I don't know how 2024 was for you. For me, it was a bit of a mixed bag, but you got to look at the good, you got to take the bad, and you got to move forward. And I think they call them the facts of life. But let's talk about the Final Cut. Right now, the Final Cut is in the late pledge stage of the campaign, which means just like when we were on Indiegogo and we would go in demand, we are currently sort of in demand or in the late pledge stage of Kickstarter, which means the campaign's still open because we're trying to do something, which is to fund Ghost in the Fogs with our good friend Moy here, who's one of our reps from Mako Animation. Right now we are, I think, 146% funded, which means we're about 46% funded towards being able to create Never Hike in the Snow, Ghost in the Fog, which is an animated Friday the 13th tale, which I've talked about plenty on Ghost Files. I'm sure you're all pretty aware of what that is. You've seen some really, really cool stuff. And I'm sure you want to know how things are going with that. And I guess we'll start there. Right now, because we're only partially funded, I have asked our partners, and Juan has done this, and I do owe him a reply to the Facebook message he sent me. What we've decided to do is take some of the funding that we've raised so far and invest that into what we kind of calculated was a scene in the middle of the film that involves a death, that has some really nice, can show off a little bit of what we're doing and give people a little bit more of an idea of what we're trying to accomplish with Ghost in the Fog. We're hoping to produce that over the next couple of months, release that probably sometime January, February, just to give us a little boost, get us towards that $100,000 mark, which is the next stretch goal in order to get I keep saying that, but Ghost in the Fog added to Never Hike Alone, the Final Cut Blu-ray. Speaking of the Final Cut, I have been combing through the films, kind of coming up with different ideas on how to incorporate as much of the films naturally into the timeline of what we want to do. We haven't started cutting yet. It's going to take a few weeks for us to get the films all in one project. Right now, Never Hike Alone 1 was cut in Avid, Never Hike in the Snow was cut in Avid, and Never Hike Alone 2 was cut on Adobe Premiere. And we're probably going to do Final Cut on Adobe Premiere as well. And I know some of you nerds out there are yelling DaVinci, but I'm going to tell you, I work with professional editors and none of them use DaVinci. It is a great tool if you're just cutting your own stuff and like making short films and stuff like that. When you're working on big, complex workflow and you got to do a bunch of stuff and bring in new footage and all those things, like DaVinci is great for coloring and it's probably pretty good for editing, but trust us, we know what we're doing. And so it's going to take a little bit for us to consolidate that. We're bringing on an assistant editor who's just going to be building the project. And that's going to probably take the duration of December. Mike is going to start cutting in January. Him and I have been trading notes, going back and forth, thinking about how things could be cut together. And in the meantime, one of the things I'm thinking of doing, because I'm also somewhat of an editor, I'm not as good as Mike is, but I'm thinking next week for Friday the 13th, which there is something else going on that date. I'm going to put this out there as a goal so you guys can expect it, because I should do this. But I'm thinking about just doing a flat out just string out of all the films. I've been, I lurk, you know what I mean? I lurk on YouTube every now and then. I search for Never Hike Alone. I look for new people doing reaction videos, which there are a few new reaction videos that just dropped recently, which are great. There's one, I can't remember the guy's name, but he is hilarious. He had me laughing the whole time. He really enjoyed Never Hike Alone 2. I saw he watched Never Hike Alone 1, so I got to go back and watch that one. But I noticed a lot of people have either completely missed the fact that there's Never Hike in the Snow, or they just forgot it was there. And they're missing a lot of context as to what's going on in Never Hike Alone 2. And I've always thought about that, being like, it's so important for people to understand who Anna is, who Mark is, what's going on with that story. Never Hike in the Snow really set that up. But because we had a 3-year delay between Never Hike in the Snow and Never Hike Alone 2, I think a lot of people who maybe, either forgot about Never Hike in the Snow or didn't really kind of connect the two dots. I mean, I know I got a lot of super fans. I'm sure a lot of people on the chat here watched everything and kind of go there. But long story short, sort of like the ghost cut, I think I'm just going to string them out without editing them at all, just kind of placing them in a specific order. I haven't necessarily decided which order that is yet, whether that's release order or that's continuity order. Basically do the ghost cut, slap Never Hike Alone 2 on the end of it, post that on YouTube and let it do its thing. See if I can use some of this AI technology to upgrade Disappear to 4K. That way we can take the ghost cut, upgrade that to 4K, match it with the Never Hike Alone 2 4K, and then have a 4K version of the entire string out of the films, which will be like 2.5, almost 3 hours long. And to remind people, the final cut is going to be a little bit more of an intricate cut. It's going to be something that's very seamless. We're not going to show the title introductions of each movie. We're not going to show, we're going to combine all the credits. We're going to do a lot of things that are a little bit more of a step up than what this would be. But Friday the 13th is coming up, and we always try to do something fun for that. So I think that's going to sort of be my mission over the next week. It's not going to take long to put together. Literally at the end of Never Hike Alone 2, I'm just going to slap a title that says 13 hours earlier, and then let Never Hike Alone 2 do its thing, coming in from, it won't show like the introduction or anything than that, but we'll just come over the lake and do that front shot as we do. Speaking of Never Hike Alone 2, we did have our technically last film festival screening, or at least for now, at the VHS Horror Show in Vancouver many weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, which went very well. I had a great time up there. That was my second time to Canada this year. I haven't been to Canada since I was in high school, and I've been to Canada twice this year, once driving, once flying. I had never been to Vancouver before, and Vancouver is a beautiful city. Had a lot of nice time walking around and just soaking the city in and sort of taking a nice little trip around the block. I think one of the coolest things about, filmmaking, and once you get into it and you start, submitting your films to different places, is actually traveling to them and actually getting to travel and take in different, cities and, regional cultures and, our neighbors to the north. I mean, it's basically like one big thing. We're very much the same, although they're much more polite in Canada. I got to say, we were in a screening. I can't remember which screening it was, but somebody in the front row sneezed, and literally everybody in the auditorium said, "Bless you." And I was just like blown away. It was like in unison too. So it was really, really funny. So shout out to everyone at the VHS Horror Show and everybody that I met there. I had a really, really great time. And then that was very awesome. Let me see. Next week, speaking of Friday the 13th, Providence, anyone who is in the New England Providence area, if you're in driving distance, come out to Buttonwoods Brewery. Providence Horror, PVD Horror, is hosting an event. It's going to be a dual screening. Never Hike in the Snow, because hey, it's Friday the 13th in December. What not a perfect time to watch Never Hike in the Snow and revisit that, right? Well, we're going to watch it on the big screen as a warm-up to watch Jason X. So it's going to be a cool back-to-back screening. I will be there in person. someone who actually purchased the film used Mark head. I mean, this head has traveled around the world. It went to Sweden, or Denmark, and then it came back and it bounced around between a few people, and it landed in somebody who lives near Boston who's coming to the screening with the original head. I'm going to dig through some of my old props, see if I can pull the jacket out, because I think I sent the original jacket, but we had multiple jackets. So I'm going to see if I can grab some like screen used jackets and see what we can do for that. Maybe I'll bring Headless Ghost Jason down to hang out. I'm going to be setting up a booth where I'll be selling a bunch of Womp Stomp Films merch. And you'll be able to pick up some stuff. And if you're an Indiegogo backer for Never Hike Alone 2 or the Final Cut, you want to pick up some swag that you ordered and may be in stock and at our table, then you can go ahead right and do so, and we'll check your name off right off the list right there and do some stuff. Speaking of some swag, one of the cool things that came in a while ago, but I really haven't had a chance to look at them, are our stickers. So if you got a sticker pack in the previous campaign, the stickers came in. I got them from Sticker App. They came out great. I love these things. They are super high quality. They stick really, really well. They're nice and thick. They're nice. I mean, the prints came out nice. I mean, that's going to look good on your water bottle, right? This is another nice one that looks great on the back of a phone. You got the Camp Crystal Lake sticker. Gotta sport that. Hopefully Sean Cunningham doesn't sue me. This little bad boy, which I don't know, I still love this logo. And then, of course, you got to support the brand. I'm probably going to order a bunch of extra ones of these, smaller, bigger, get those out. But what's been really, really nice is, what have I been up to for the last 3 weeks? It's basically stuff like that. I've been putting in orders for the Final Cut t-shirts. I've been ordering extra stuff for the Never Hike Alone 2. The Never Hike Alone 2 t-shirts and other bits and pieces that we needed. The VHS tapes are in production. The Blu-rays are approved. I approved the Blu-ray yesterday. Yeah, yesterday was Thursday. I approved the Never Hike Alone 2 Blu-ray. It's actually still in my my PlayStation. I vetted it the other night. It looks really crisp, actually. I had actually been going back and forth with the vendor. We had some concerns about the size of the file that I sent. I kind of had to send a couple different versions so we could fit it on the disc. And I didn't want to lose any quality. I got to say that some of the stuff for the Ghost Cut DVDs, that there was like an incident there where like some of our blacks get crushed, and you can see some pixelations, which I wasn't a big fond of. But it's sort of like that's what we kind of had to do. So this one, I really wanted to avoid that and make sure that everyone got the best picture possible. I watched it. It's pretty flawless. I was surprised. They were going back and forth with the concern, but what I saw looked great. So, I gave my thumbs up. That's going to go into production. That's going to take at least 22 days. I have not been given an official, yes, production has started, but I have given my approval. I'm waiting for them to get back to me. Then, like I said, 22 days from that approval. Keep in mind, Christmas is coming up. And I believe that team is going to take off the entire week of Christmas. So as those days bleed into those days, or if shipping days bleed into those days, I imagine that all of that stuff is going to be delayed with shipping. I got a lot of boxes coming in. We got 2,300 first edition Never Hike Alone Blu-rays coming in. And I have 1,000 Jarvis versus Jason edition Blu-rays coming in. Only 500 of those sold. So I said I would print 1,300, but since we only sold 500, I'm going to print 1,000. The first 500 are going to be in red cases. I do have the red cases. I have ordered the front covers, and the disc, and that's going to be all nice and good. And then in the back half, anyone who ordered a Never Hike Alone 2 disc on the Final Cut campaign, they're going to get a Jarvis versus Jason edition, but those are coming in black cases. So that's going to be a cool little swap out. I do have some new stuff kind of happening. We're going to reorder some stuff with Never Hike Alone, Never Hike in the Snow, and the Ghost Cut, with some new labels, new artwork. And I hope I can actually get a better version of the Ghost Cut on the new edition that's coming, which would be really, really nice. Everything's just I've basically just been sitting here doing Blu-ray menus and really going into the wraparounds and the discs and making sure that everything was crossing my T's, dotting my I's. really kind of fixing some of the artwork where there might have been some little snafus. Because obviously when I build stuff for a crowdfunding campaign, I'm doing it to the point where it looks good on the perk page and you can't really tell that, oh, maybe this isn't right, or that's not right, or maybe this is a little off, or that's a little off. That's what I've been doing for the last few weeks. So why haven't I been doing ghost files? Well, it's been a long year. And then once we kind of hit the end of the Final Cut, I gotta say, like, it's sort of like running a marathon. It's like once you're done running a marathon, it's tough to keep running. And I just needed to take some time off. I wanted to focus on this. And so instead of like spending a Friday night getting ready for this and doing this for a few hours, I was dedicating those hours just sitting here, just cutting and working on stuff and going back and forth on emails and, doing all that fun stuff just so I can get this stuff out. Because honestly, like the faster we get Never Hike Alone 2 out, the faster the Final Cut gets done and we get that stuff out, the easier it is for me to move on to other projects, get those things going out. I want to instill the confidence in everybody to know that when they back a Womp Stomp Films production, which I know many people already know this, but when you back our production, you get what you pay for. And, we're making sure that the quality is top notch, like we always wanted to have, and trying to throw in as many special surprises as we can. It really means a lot to me that, when people support our films, that they feel like that their wish lists are heard and we want to give them everything that they want. So working really, really hard on that. Anyone who ordered a mask or a weapon or anything like that, we have the masks coming in. Any of the replica weapons, those are being made now, like the not the screen use, but the replica stuff. That stuff's being made now. Once I collect everything, I'm going to arrange a trip where I'm going to go across country back to Los Angeles. I'm going to meet with my team. We're going to sign everything all at once so we can just get it done. And then I'm going to bring everything back and I'm going to ship that stuff. So if you let's say you ordered a Ghost Hawk. If you got a Ghost Hawk and a Blu-ray and pins and the shirt and all that stuff, well, you're going to get your shirt, you're going to get your pins, you're going to get your Blu-ray. I'm going to send that to you. I'm going to put your name on a Ghost Hawk list. And then when the Ghost Hawks are ready, I'm going to send you a second package to go there. So Horror Effects Design has just finished up all of the Halloween orders that they had lingering. And I think there were a couple more. But once that's done, we have him bought out for the next 2 months. He's just going to jam out all of this stuff, the Roy masks, the Battle Hawks, the retro masks. I mean, I don't know if any of you remember, but we had retro Jason masks made, which are really, really cool. So they're going to be like all NES style. And then we have like the traditional Ghost Hawk as well. I think there's about 50 or 60 Ghost Hawks that are going to be made. So we're going to take our time with that. We're going to make sure they're done well. There's no rush. We want quality over speed. And I think that everyone will appreciate that at end. And, I do appreciate everybody for your patience as we kind of work this out. And hopefully, your patience is going to be rewarded, because here we go. We're in that moment where you've waited all this time. It's going to come in the mail. You're going to love what we got. I mean, I got all the t-shirts organized finally. I got a lot of stuff organized down the warehouse, just like it's ready to ship. Even my dad was impressed. He kind of walked, like, my dad has this big warehouse where, he ships a lot of antiques, and he gave me like an aisle to make it like the Womp Stomp aisle. And it's really cool. I got all these bookshelves where, like, imagine like a Womp Stomp store. It's really cool. It's like you just have like rows of Blu-rays, rows of VHS. All the shirts are in like different bins that are stacked up, and like it's really nice. And once we start shipping, it's going to be a very smooth operation. And I'm really looking forward to being able to do that. It's going to be a lot of work. Looks like January 1st, 2nd, 3rd. We're probably going to get started around there. I'm just going to go through each individual order. If there's anything missing, I'll let you know and say, hey, we're waiting on this. This is when you get your order, stuff like that. But, obviously, if anything ever comes up, you just email me at wompstompfilms@gmail.com. And I got you. Bing. And then let me see what else is going on. Because that did bring me another idea that I was thinking of. Oh, if you ordered one of the NECA Jasons, which it's one of these guys, my buddy Kaiden, super fan Kaiden, who is, became a crew member, is working on those right now. A new wrinkle in that, for anyone who backed one of those, we found a manufacturer who will create boxes for us. So not only are you going to get the Ghost Jason. We're not going to send it to you in the Freddy versus Jason box, because these are based on Freddy versus Jason models that get like reshaped and kind of stuff like that. He repaints them and does a bunch of stuff to them. But we're not going to just put them back in the Freddy versus Jason box. That was something that Kind had sent the first 3 to me, and they were in Freddy versus Jason boxes. And I was like, I just feel this just feels wrong. I want to do something special. So we found somebody who makes cases, like an actual company. I just got the specs for it. I'm going to design, like, if NECA had made Ghost Jason, it would come in this package. And so it's going to be really cool. It has like the plastic front. I'm going to use some of our, proprietary Never Hike Alone logos. I'm going to write a whole thing in the back. I'm, really going to study what they do at NECA. I'm going to try to create a Womp Stomp version of that. So if you grabbed one of those, that's going to be really, really cool. I'm going to have one myself, so I'm not going to be jealous. But when we do convention stuff, we're definitely going to be making extra ones of those. They will be available at conventions. So definitely keep an eye out if you're going to be on the convention circuit or hanging out with us there. So, hey, Brandon, you ordered one. Well, you're in luck. You're going to get it. I mean, you're going to have something that is really, really cool. And hopefully a good keepsake for everybody. I thought that was going to lead me into something else. Let me see. I'm just looking around. Yeah. So, I'm going to get into that in a little bit. So that's going on there. So that's good. We got the Final Cut. That stuff's moving along. Never Hike Alone 2 stuff is moving along. And now, let me see. Is there any questions before I go? Cool. Oh, yeah. So let's talk. Oh, well, good. There's my segue. How was everyone's Thanksgiving? That's what I want to talk about. Some of the other things. Let's talk about some personal stuff. I had a very good Thanksgiving. I got to say, part of the reason why I'm back this week is because Thanksgiving, it put a bunch of, it gave me a bunch of energy. My family got together. I haven't seen my brothers all year. My brother just had the family's first grandchild on our side of things, little Luca. And I got to meet Luca for the first time, my nephew, my godson. And we got to spend a week with this 8-month-old little blue-eyed baby boy who is just the cutest kid of all time. I'm very proud to be an uncle. Definitely going to be he's got 2 Funkles. I'm going to tell you that. This kid's going to have 2 of the coolest Funkles he's ever had. He's got one that's a filmmaker, and he's got another one that lives like down the street from where Mardi Gras is like popping off. So, little Luke is not going to be short of fun times in his life. That's for sure. And I got to say, it just, that experience of seeing that process happening, I'm very proud of my brother and his wife, Mimi, Mogo, Morgan, all of her nicknames. My brother, Nick, his wife, Morgan, it's their child. Congratulations to them. And, it does. I mean, not that I had a kid, but when you sort of see this and you realize that, you got another generation of your family coming, it really does energize you. Now I'm really excited. I am. Yeah. Allie, I love that name too. He's like the little fish kid from the Pixar movie. So that's going to be great. Yeah. And he's got a great personality, and it just sort of like reminded me that, like, when life gets you down, you got your family. And you just kind of do it for them. And that's what I'm kind of taking this thing. It's like, I think I've been lost in that thing of like, Never Hike Alone 2 came out. I was hoping that it would, lead to some huge thing. And even though things are in the works, I am, it just sort of, life is still moving at that pace. You know what I mean? There's no shortcuts in life. And, it sort of reminded me that I don't have to rush. I'm not in a rush to do anything. And it was, just a good time hanging out with the family. Good meal, good times. We went to go see the Boston Celtics play at not the Fleet Center. It hasn't been the Fleet Center for like 20 years at the TD Bank North Garden. We had not front row seats, but we were in lodge. We got on the Jumbotron, which is really cool. I don't know if any of you are Boston fans, but when Boston's way ahead, they have this part of the night called Geno time. And my little brother is Geno, and he wore a shirt, Geno time. So they cut to him in the 4th quarter, and everybody went nuts. And so it was really, really nice because he had the big Geno thing and the guy dancing from, I think, American Bandstand or something like that. It's a funny thing. You got to kind of be there to do it. Steve DMB wants to know if I've seen any good movies lately. Well, I'll tell you about one movie that you should have watched last week. Freebirds. I don't know if you guys know, but I have a voice in that movie. That was the first movie I ever worked on. And I worked on it for about 3.5 years. Stars Owen Wilson and Woody Harrelson. Every time somebody watches that movie, you earn me 1 cent towards another coffee because I have 2 voices in that movie and I get residuals from it. So please keep watching Free Birds. Make sure you gather your friends and family. It's a great, fun time travel movie, independent feature animation from Real Effects. Jimmy Hayward was the director. He's the same director from Horton Hears a Who. Good friend of mine, Jeff Biancalano, was the head of story. There's the same person who gave me the hookup to get into Warner Brothers to pitch the Friday the 13th animated series when I was doing that back in 2019. I watched that last week with the family, and you should too if you haven't. What else have I seen since then? Well, I got to see Trap, which was funny, and odd to see. I'm blanking on his name, but Josh Hartnett in a role like that. I did think the movie got a little silly towards the end. I feel like his plan completely fell apart, but somehow it worked. But that was that movie. The movie I really want to talk about is Heretic. Heretic, I went and saw in the theater a couple weeks ago. I believe I went by myself. I think that was my solo bolo, a trip for present to myself. And I got to say, that was refreshing. That was really, really nice to see. Hugh Grant was perfect. The 2 leads, the 2 girls, they were really, really great. It kept me on the edge of my seat. I didn't know what was going to happen. And then I thought that the way they ended was such a beautiful way to end the movie, even though it is a dark and kind of sad film for a lot of it. I thought that it was some of the things they say in it. I'm surprised that they were allowed to. I don't think this movie could have been released 20 years ago, or it's definitely not 30 or 40 years ago. It's blasphemous as hell. But it was really interesting to hear somebody say some of these things out loud. Because I feel like I felt those things my whole life. But, beyond that, I did see Gladiator 2, which I thought was kind of dog shit. I fell asleep twice. I just didn't understand why the movie had to exist. I was so confused. Like, when I originally went into it, I didn't, I'm playing this game of like trying not to learn anything about a movie before I go into it. And I thought in my head, oh, this is just going to be a story that picks up like many generations later, just something that echoes in time or so. I didn't realize it was going to be sort of a direct sequel. This is some like parody movie shit. Like you would only see like Gladiator 2 would be in like a National Lampoon's movie as a joke poster in the background. You know what I mean? Like, and although there were some good performances, there was a lot of great action. That was a silly, silly movie. I'm just like, Ridley Scott's getting yelled at by his DP, and it's just been, I don't know. I didn't love it. I'll just say that. I just thought it was, me and my brother went to that. Actually, my brother Gino came in, and that's what we did. We did brother time, and I went to, we were like, let's go see Gladiator 2. Got in, and just absolutely, I don't know, man. Listen, Ridley Scott's a genius. I'm not trying to talk down on him or say like I'm better than that, but I just don't know why that movie exists. I think he should have just made something else. Some of it was really, really funny. I don't know why it existed. The one I'm looking forward to, like most nerds and everybody fighting on it on YouTube this week, is Nosferatu. I've seen, obviously the trailer because I've been to movies and I've seen the trailers. Beyond that, I haven't looked at much. I know they haven't released Bill Skarsgård's Max Schreck yet. No, that's not Max Schreck's the guys who originally did it, but Count Olaf. They haven't released him yet, which I think is smart. It's nice that when you have something that's that recognizable where you don't have to show your main character to get people into the theater. There was a lot of discourse on Twitter X this week about Robert Eggers. He wrote this long diatribe thank you letter and to his cast and crew. He wrote this letter to the critics about what inspired him to do this movie, about how he's basically been making this movie over and over and over since childhood. He directed a version of it in high school. He directed a version at an actual theater company. And then, this was sort of his dive into it, this aesthetic that he loves, which he's really, really good at. And then people called him a midwit for it and called him pretentious. And it's just, I don't know. Every week I seem to have another reason to like look down and just feel bad about just the film community as whole right now. It's just a bunch of condescending, like, assholes who are just, I don't know, persnickety, and they haven't seen anything. They haven't watched the decades of film, and anything like anything made before 2000 they think is shit. You know, they don't understand the quality of every like period of film, and they love it for what it is. They just expected everything to look like a Netflix movie, which kind of sucks. And I'm like, that's why I'm like, you know what? If 12 people go to see Nosferatu and it doesn't make its budget back, it's like, whatever. Like, I'm just glad they're letting Robert Eggers continue to make movies because he's very talented at it. And it's nice that someone with actual talent is out there making big budget movies the way that they should be made. And I cannot wait for that. After this, I'm going to plot my butt down and get some rest. I'm going to watch Beetlejuice, which I did not see in the theaters. I heard mixed reviews. I said, I'll just wait till it's on HBO. Same thing with Joker 2. That's on HBO next week on Friday the 13th. I won't see it obviously that night. But I'm going to, watch that and weigh in and see what I think about it. And we'll see that. It's not out yet, Moy, but you can watch the original version, which was from, I believe, 1932-ish. And then there's another one. Werner Herzog did one, I think, in 1979. So you can watch the other two Nosferatus, which I think I might do, or I don't know if I want to. I may just want to just go into Edgar's, just not being familiar. Not that I'm not familiar with Nosferatu, but like not having a fresh memory of other films before I go watch something about the same subject. I think it would be smart to just kind of go in blind and let him do his thing. No, I haven't seen the new one. I have to see Beetlejuice 2. I will see that. We'll go from there. Let me see anything. Hey, I'm an asshole. Hey, it's all right. We all get to be an asshole sometimes. And that's the thing, like, just another lesson from life. Like, sometimes you share your opinion and you get blacklisted from news organizations, and you have a bunch of people bullying you that make a big time movie, and they feel like, oh, let's bully the fan filmmaker because he doesn't like my movie. That's what happens to me when I share my opinions. You know what, Eric? You can share your opinion, and I don't mind. If you said something bad if you don't like Robert Eggers films, it's one of those things where I'm like, I get it, because they're not traditional and they're not commercial. I don't like The Lighthouse. If I want to fall asleep, I'm going to put on The Lighthouse. Lighthouse puts me right to sleep. Just the aesthetic of it, the look of it, the color of it, it just lulls me in. Like the pacing of it just lulls me in. But when I can pay attention, you have to look back and be like, I don't really know what's going on here, but I gotta say, Willem Dafoe's delivering a masterful performance. Robert Pattinson's delivering a masterful performance. I need to pay attention and see what I'm missing. I feel like you almost have to like work a little bit during that movie, and modern audiences don't like to work. That's basically what I got. They just want to look at their phone and they don't want to be bothered. They want to just be able to look at their phone and just have a background screen, I think is what they call it. So films like Lighthouse, I know won't appeal to people. So when people say, like, I don't like Robert Eggers films, I get it. But you can't slight the guy for saying, thank you to my DP and my production designer for working together, because I had all these crazy sets that had hinges and moved and all this stuff. And they had to put together this masterful sort of like long tracking shots where they're literally moving sets while they're doing it. That's a lot of work. That takes the work of a lot of people, not just the production designer, but the people on set, the on-set dressers, the construction, all that stuff. It's just, I have just this appreciation when you shoot something, when somebody has to shoot something and there is that technical skill involved. It's not just setting up a flat camera and smashing a bunch of bad effects over and over again. It's actual craft. There's actual thinking of it. Not anyone can do it. It takes a true master to execute something like this. And that's what's entertaining to me, no matter how good or bad one of those films. And I feel the same way about Ari Aster. It's like, I loved Hereditary. Midsommar, it's fine. I didn't love it like I loved Hereditary. And then Beau is Afraid. I still don't know what that is. I have to go back and watch it again because I still don't understand what the hell happened. But I can appreciate it. Like, you can appreciate it even when you don't like it. And that's what's really amazing to me, is when you watch true masters of skill do something. That's what really kind of gets me going in the theater these days. Like, commercial stuff is fine. Like, I've been watch some of Creature Commandos today. That seems okay. Who knows what's going to happen with that whole DC universe? What else have I been watching? Have I been watching anything else? I don't know. Let me see. Dude, I have to see Venom the Last. I didn't get to see it in the theater. Oh, but I am looking forward to Craven. I don't know about you guys, but I am looking forward to Craven because it feels like it might be the one Sony movie that they figured it out. Because I love Venom because Tom Hardy and his performance, I think, is brilliant, but the movies are shit. And the story of what they do with Venom is shit. It doesn't make any sense from what we know about the actual Venom. Very rushed and Madam Web, Lily. And then what was the other one that was, Morbius, of course. So I think that this is going to be a great capper to the Morbius verse of Sony Spider-Man films. Craven looks really, really cool. I'll admit, like Aaron Taylor Johnson, I wasn't a huge fan specifically from his performance in Godzilla 2014, where I felt it was very wooden and one note, and I didn't really love his character because he was the one that brought you along for the whole adventure. But I got to say, he's taken a step up in my sort of taste in many, many years. And I'm looking forward to seeing that, because even if it is cheesy and shitty, I think it's that kind of cheesy and shitty that might be a little bit fun. But, there is that. Well, that's right. There's a Frank Grillo movie that came out. The filmmaker's name is Steven something, but it's called Werewolves. It's basically The Purge meets werewolves. That's in theaters now. Independent horror film. So that one's definitely there. Hearing mixed stuff on werewolves. I'm hearing a lot of great things, but that also might be a lot of insular. That's what I've noticed is like there's definitely I've definitely understood that there is a cool kids club in the horror world these days. There's a cool clique. And if you're in that cool clique, people are going to support your stuff. They're going to post about it every single day, and they're going to do it. And if you're not in the cool clique, you're just like, oh yeah, here, somebody did this. Yep, good. Now back to my friend who's doing this. Oh, keep pushing that. So that's kind of, oh yeah, Stephen C. Miller. That's right. You got it. Every time I check. But Werewolves does look pretty good. The werewolves look great. It's definitely going to be high action. The guy's a trailer editor, so it's going to have that punchy kind of like feel to it. Obviously, Frank Grillo's a big fan. Speaking of Frank Grillo, Creature Commandos, he's the lead voice of General Flag, which was funny. I saw a bunch of people go like, how did Flag go from having brown hair to gray hair? And if you listen closely to the dialogue, I don't think people realize that's his dad. So there's two Flags. The Rick Flag that died in the Suicide Squad movie, his father is the leader of Creature Commandos. So that's how you get that. I hate the hamster attention span that people have now. Just put the phone down and watch the movie. Yes, I totally believe that. People are kind of going there. Do you think Jason? Oh, here we go. We got a question. Slasher guy. Do you think Jason would fight Michael Myers if they encountered each other? Obviously, your version of NHA. Obviously, if he fought, Jason would win, or at least my opinion. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I've covered this before, but Jason would win handily, very, very fast. Even if it was Ghost Jason versus Happy Halloween, Michael, Jason would still win. That's just kind of the way it goes. Yeah, Michael can take a lot of damage, but he's not supernatural. So Jason's always going to come back and get it. I did not see the Chainsaw Awards. I'm just not into that stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's fine. Like, and it's fun. And I'm sure people have a lot of fun with it, but I'm not a social media cheerleading, showing up for the pandering. It's kind of a big pander fest, all that stuff. Not to say that like it's like pandering like the South Park, but I mean it's just sort of everybody. I don't know. People make their films and it's all favoritism and voting and stuff like that. And when it comes to the voting, it's like it's the MTV Music Awards. You know what I mean? It's like, is the person who's really the best one winning, or is it just a popularity contest? And you could say that, well, if the most people like it, yeah, but I don't know. It's tough. Maybe if they asked me to present an award, I'd love it more. But until if I don't have anything like to work on it or doing it, I'm just going to focus on my own stuff and keep moving forward. It really is. It is a beauty contest. Speaking of making stuff, let's talk about what's on the horizon for Womp Stomp Films for 2025, because things have started to solidify about what we are going to be pursuing, what we won't be pursuing, and some of the ideas of what I have. And I've been hanging on to something for a little bit. Few things really, but there's one thing that I wasn't going to talk about, but I am going to talk about tonight, or maybe I have talked about it in the past. Maybe I have slipped and had it. But first of all, a feature film that I'm going to call Untitled right now, because we do have to change the name of it. It just got optioned. So we just had a film optioned by an investment team. The option kicks in January 1st. And starting January 1st, we're going to start approaching our investors and seeing how much we can raise for an independent horror movie, original film. And it is a horror thriller with a little touch of comedy. It's a fun, I would say, like, if you like Strange Darling, this will be sort of in the same ballpark, and will be a lot of fun. I don't know if we'll be able to film it next year. It's all going to depend on when funding lands, and a lot of different things the factors are going to have to go in. But as far as it's concerned, it's going to be a Womp Stomp Films production. We're not going through a company. We're not partnering with anybody. I mean, it's literally the person who is partnering with us is partnering with Womp Stomp Films. They are a single unit entity. We are going to put our money together. We have some other investors that are circling some of our projects, and we are going to hopefully get that off the ground next year. Once that is officially done and funded and we're going to shoot it, I will announce what it is. We will most likely at some point run a crowdfunding campaign for it towards the back end of, hey, the film's completing, but we want you to be a part of it. Help us with post-production, any additional things that we want to add to the movie, things like that. So keep an eye out for that. I'll have more info there. Ghost Chicken has some momentum. So Ghost Chicken, as you all know, is another one of our animated projects that we wanted to get off the ground with Mako Animation. But because Mako is definitely going to have their hands full with Ghost in the Fog, I talked to some people. And I won't say anything just yet. You'll probably be able to figure it out if you know from my past posts about supporting things. But what we have decided is that it sounds like Ghost Chicken is going to be the first ever Womp Stomp Films, or I should say Womp Stomp Comics graphic novel. So we're going to turn Ghost Chicken into a graphic novel. It's a 25-page script. It's a 25-minute short film. So I don't know what that's going to translate as far into pages, but the idea is if we offer it as a graphic novel, something that is very affordable, a very low, kind of easy target for us to hit crowdfund that, so say it's a $30,000 crowdfund or a $25,000 crowdfund. We hit that goal. We want to do Ghost Chicken in both English and Spanish, because again, we want to partner with Mako Animation. And it's always been our hope that Ghost Chicken is Never Hike Alone's been great for us in Latin America and Central America, but we also want to take Ghost Chicken in here and do the English and Spanish version, because we believe that the subject matter is just going to do really, really well in those demographics. I believe everybody here who's a supporter of Womp Stomp Films is really going to like that. I think it's going to be really cool just to see this film come to life, and it may be the springboard that we need to get it animated. I mean, obviously there will be this sounds like a TT. Of course, you guys, good to see you, Ronnie. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to work with some people to kind of get the art direction for it and go there. We'll talk to Mako, and we got some other people we got to bring a bunch of teams together for that. But that is something to look out for in 2025, where we'll be launching a Kickstarter for that. I have been named a crowdfunding producer on a new project called Slay. It is directed by Kira Gardner. It is directed by Kira Gardner. It's produced by Jimmy Simpson. It stars Aya Cash from The Boys. It stars Shawnee Smith from Saw and The Blob. Kira's dad, Tony Gardner, who is the man who created not Don Mancini, who created Child's Play, but Tony was the one who built the Chucky doll. And obviously, if you know Tony Gardner, you know everything he's done in the VFX world. He has been one of the giants since the 80s. This is going to be a very cool film. It's basically a slasher film that it's like Clueless meets Scream. Bunch of kids go away for spring break and then get stalked by a serial killer. Lots of really, really cool stuff. We're going to be launching a crowdfund for that sometime in the spring. The film has been shot. In fact, the director of photography was Evan Butka, who was the director of photography on Never Hike in the Snow and Never Hike Alone 2. So that's how I ended up getting associated with that film, along with some other people on the cast and crew who brought me, who's Harry Crumb. You guys are too much. That's funny. So that's going to be launching then. We'll have more information for you there. That's hopefully going to be something that when we're connected to it, that's going to be one of the first projects that we're associated with that is meant to go to the theater. So what's really cool is that we're bringing Slay to Kickstarter as an opportunity for that. I think most people have had sort of like, they've had it with Shelby Oaks and they've had it with Onyx the Fortuitous, where they have been able to back this film, back a film, get it all the way to the theater or get it all the way to streaming. And we want fans, genre fans specifically, to have this ability to have ownership and take ownership of the films that they not only watch, but now that they support. And so now fans are taking things to the theater. And I think opening up that avenue is a really cool thing for everybody. I think it's really going to help the project. What we're trying to do is boost their post-production funds so they can finish the movie and they can get the actual post-production funds that they need instead of kind of shortchanging it. And then it's going to hit the festival circuit, and then hopefully it will be in the theaters and you'll be able to get a first, basically first dibs on it and get your names in it. Associate producer credits will be available. Special thank you credits will be available. And a lot of digital rewards, we're going to be I'm working with the team over the next. So one of the things I will be doing is working with the team over the next few months. We're going to be building the campaign, working with Kickstarter, going back and forth and figuring that out. So that's what your boy will be up to in between all of that. We have some momentum on the EMF ghost hunting short. And the momentum is I'm going to rewrite it from the ground up. I met with producer Jeremy Brown the last couple of weeks. We had a great conversation about sort of and, I'll just kind of like spill the beans in the sense of the previous movie was about a guy going into a haunted asylum and experiencing something. And then I sat down and I went, I'm going to do some research. So I went and I watched Session 9. I watched Grave Encounters. And then I watched like Gonjam, which is, I believe it's a Korean. I want to say it's Korean. Found footage movie set in an asylum. And after watching those three films back to back to back, I realized that the current version of EMF as it stood sort of didn't do anything to step out of that shadow. Like those other films were doing all the things that we were going to do anyway. I mean, we had some of our own special things, but it just felt like we're just playing the same old song, and people have sung this song before, and Shelby Oaks is coming out. And that's sort of another one that kind of that's going down that rim. So I have come up with a brand new origin story for the ghost that they're going to be visiting. I got a brand new kind of set of eyes that you're going to be experiencing the experiences with. And I'm going to be sitting down and writing that this weekend. And then the hope is that we will put together a crowdfund for that probably sometime in the summer and maybe shoot it next fall. So that will be something that will be coming down the pipe, more original work. Session 9 is an F movie. It's a good movie though. I mean, all three movies are great. And that made me say, if these three movies are great, there's no way that I'm going to be greater than this, because they've done it. They've done the things that I'm doing. So all I'm doing is copying. So we got to do something different. We came up with something. Jeremy and I dove into our past. We started let's talk about things that are what do we know? You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to go obviously we all kind of have an idea of what a sane asylum is, but we don't really know. We were let's write something we know. And so we dove in, we talked about it a little bit, came up with something, and now we have what we need. And I just need to go and write it. Next week, same thing, not same thing, but speaking of, sort of things that we're going to be working on in crowdfunding. So we do have the late pledge campaign still open for the Final Cut, and we're going to be adding things to it. Coming soon to the Final Cut campaign. So this song, I've been playing at the beginning of the episodes. That sounds kind of cool, and it's nice and sort of like old 8-bit. It reminds you of like an old video game. Well, we're making a Never Hike Alone 8-bit video game, which basically is a spin-off of the original Friday the 13th NES video game with its own original story. Now, unfortunately, in one sense, it's not going to be Friday the 13th. We're not making it a Friday the 13th game. We're coming up with an original story, or we've come up with an original story for Never Hike Alone. It will star Kyle MacLeod. You will be able to play as Hikerman 5000, but we have a new person who is the Phantom of Pearl Pond. And so we've basically crafted this thing that is it's my Victor Crowley. And so that Jason that I took pictures of many moons ago, where everybody thought I was a gay Jason, it's sort of like it's coming off of that, but he has like a skull face and he's completely different. He is purple, and he will chase you around the map. He throws a sickle. There's going to be a lot of things you recognize from the aesthetic of Never Hike Alone. I saw some of the backgrounds and some of the sets on it the last couple of days, and it looks, I mean, it's a 8-bit or 16-bit game or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not in with the lingo. I'm just saying it like as a player. It looks cool. Like it looks really rad. Like the design this guy did a really great job. We'll have more information on that in a couple of weeks. Obviously, I won't be here next week. I'll be at my screening, and then I'll be back for Ghost Files the week after. I'm hoping by then that I will have a demo that I will play live on the Ghost Files. So we'll be able to put that sucker on here. And that's, I've kind of been teasing this as we go. But I'm really, it's a little bit maybe like Splatterhouse. I have to go back and remind myself of what Splatterhouse looks like. But we're going to make it available on the campaign. It's only going to be like $10 or $15. I think we'll probably make it 15 because obviously we're trying to raise money. But you're going to be able to download it off Steam. You can play it on Mac. You can play it on Windows. And we may even be able to play it on our phones. So it won't be a complicated game. It's not going to be, it's going to take 10 hours to beat it or whatever. You may be able to beat it in a half hour. But I think it's kind of cool that we'll all be able to have like a game that you can play that pops up that says Never Hike Alone, that you can select Kyle. Like, it's just going to be really cool. And it's the same thing. It's a side scroller. You throw rocks, you pick up other weapons, zombies try to eat you, things like that. And we're working on that. It will be fun. And then speaking of Never Hike Alone, I've been thinking long and hard about this. And I've kind of been watching, I watch the comments roll in. I see people rediscovering Never Hike Alone all the time. I had a conversation with someone about it. And I'm just going to put it out there that Never Hike Alone 3 is definitely on the table. I don't think it's going to happen in 2025. There's just too many original projects that are going on. But Never Hike Alone 3, I think if we get what we want to get done in 2025 and everything goes smooth, or not smooth, but we get through our bits and pieces of that 2026, I'm taking a break from Never Hike Alone next year, but I'm going to come back to it in 2026, which is actually going to take me into something else in a little bit. I'll tell you guys about that's more personal. But for the first time, I may not be directing it. I may be stepping aside. I think it's time to pass the torch. I've directed my trilogy. I have done what I wanted to do. I've done my Steve Miner job. And one thing about Friday the 13th is that it went through many different directors. I will obviously still be producing. But the reason why I may be handing over the directing reins is that I am going to be playing Ghost Jason the entire time. I am not getting out of costume. No one else will play it. And I am currently on I started it now, like it is technically like going to be a year-long program, but I've started very early on it. I'm going to spend the next year just getting yoked. Your boy's going to be going to the gym basically every day. I found a Muay Thai gym down the street that teaches traditional Muay Thai that has been kicking my ass for the last 6 weeks. And if I look a little slimmer, if I look a little bit more kind of less pudgy and more, thin, it's because I've been back on my thing. Loving being back into Muay Thai, but there's going to be that. There's a couple other projects that we're working on too, but my goal is to put on probably 20 pounds of muscle, be walking around probably at like, I'm going to drop weight and I'm going to build muscle on top of it, probably get up around like 230, 240 in muscle, and just be yoked out and make this just terrifying experience of what Never Hike Alone 3 will be, because the idea is just too good. And luckily the team that would be behind it, they're very much a very run and gun type team. I'm sure we'll be able to raise a decent amount of money for it. The difference is we're not going SAG this time. We're not doing union stuff. We're not paying high rates. We're not getting stuck in the trap that we got stuck in with Never Hike Alone 2 and Never Hike in the Snow, which worked for Never Hike in the Snow, but for Never Hike Alone 2 to do a feature film for $300,000, we ran into so many walls with that. But if we took that same type of budget, we put it towards something that was a little bit slimmed down as far as like what the production was, and put more focus on, the few people that need to be there to make it work, me playing Jason, doing all of those different things, and then coming up with the craziest, scariest story possible. That's the idea. Obviously I don't think this is a secret, but it would follow Hiker Man 5000. He wants to follow in Kyle's footsteps as he ventures out into the forest to do the Wessex County Trail. His stream, or his, hopes to making this cool YouTube video, is crashed by a bunch of rival streamers who are all bullies, basically like the real streaming world. You know what I mean? They come out, they crash his stream because they know he's out there doing this and they want to make fun of him. They all end up at Camp Crystal Lake. They disturb Jason's grave, and Jason comes back and wreaks havoc. And it's going to be, we already kind of pitched out the story. I already have the story front to back. So I will be writing it. I will be producing it. I obviously will be, ghost chasing in it. I will be looking over the shoulder of the director to say like, hey, we can do this, we can do that. But this person is very, very good. I won't announce that yet until they officially say like, yes, I'm going to do it, because they have their own projects they're working on too, which hopefully I'll be working on those as well. It's all going to be coming together. So how does Jason get his body back? You're going to have to watch. You're going to have to watch and see. It's actually, Jason gets more terrifying in this. I will say this. If you want to get a taste of what we're going to try to do, and remember, this was a test. If you go watch Ghost Jason Attacks on the Never Hike Alone timeline, if you go, you see all the regular Never Hike Alone films. If you go down the Never Hike Alone timeline in the playlist, there's something called Ghost Jason Attacks. Something like that. It's going to be something like that. It's not going to be fully found footage. There's just going to be more found footage. I want to go back to the roots of what made Never Hike Alone 1 so impactful and I think good. And I think that it was nice to hijack the real Friday the 13th, have Tommy do all that stuff, and bring his story to closure and do something that I always wanted to do. But I did miss through the process of the fun of creating the types of movie that Never Hike Alone was, because it was a different beast of a production. And I want to go back by that. No Necronomicon. There's no Necronomicon. There's no voodoo. There's none of that stuff. It's a very simple lore and logic. And you don't have to think too hard about it. You guys will get it right away. In fact, a fan gave me an idea for it today. I already put that pin in it and said, okay, now this is going to be another element that comes back because we've never done this before. Or maybe I'll just spoil it now and get you guys excited. For the first time, you'll see a Ghost Jason, Baghead Jason. So how about that? Be pretty cool, right? So we're going to come up with a new design. There's that. I mean, he's not going to be Baghead the whole time, but there will be a portion of the movie where he's a Baghead before he gets his mask back, and goes from there. Tommy will not be in this story. Tommy's story is over. Tommy is gone. Kyle is gone. They're all moved on. This is a new set of characters, a new set of people stumbling into the aftermath of what happened in Never Hike Alone. And now the story of Never Hike Alone, what happened in the Never Hike Alone tale, is now a local legend. You know what I mean? Because nobody really knows what happened. The FBI only gave out so much information, and only a few people know what really happened. So that becomes the lore that these kids kind of share with each other about what happened here. So I think that that's going to be a really, really cool thing. Not to say that, like, obviously I'll be thinking of a way like, oh, it might be fun to get Tom a cameo in some way, shape, or form, or Kyle a cameo in some way, shape, or form. Obviously Rick is dead, but maybe, we'll still get that. We may, me, I'm going to find all sorts of ways to get. But Vinny, Kyle, I know, but Kyle will be there in spirit. Thank you, Brandon. We'll definitely put your money to good use. As the politicians in my hometown said, we can spend your money better than you can. All that. Yeah, maybe. So I don't know if I want to get into politics right now, or I want to get into politics at all, because it's just a crazy, crazy world out there. And I don't think that people should share their political opinions all the time and shove it in other people's faces. I think that that's very gaudy and hypocritical, and I don't think that that's cool. I think that you should make the choices you make, and then whatever the country decides, we'll keep moving forward. I don't think the world's going to fall apart right now. I don't think anybody, loves the situation that we're in, no matter who got voted in. You know what I mean? It's like, so it's just sort of bear down, take care of the people you love, and keep moving forward. And if you're literally crying in the streets over, our puppet president bouncing around the White House, well, start doing some more research on politics and how things work, and realize that it doesn't matter who's anywhere. It's all screwed because of money. And until somebody starts talking about term limits and limits on money and politics and all of this stuff, and senators stop making millions of dollars off of inside trading, then maybe we can have an actual democracy. But until then, we're a corporate country run by corporations and corporate people who pull the strings of our politicians. So it's like, you can throw your vote towards anybody you want. You're basically just, paying for some corporation to have a puppet in place. And that's how we get the pharmaceutical system. That's how we get a healthcare system like we have it. But I would say that if you ever wanted to know what my political opinion is, look up a song by a band called Stray from the Path, the song Guillotine. That's my political opinion, if you really want to know. I won't say it out loud, but I don't know. That's what I would vote for. And then we could just start over. But, hey, that might just be me. But enough about politics. How about the Goonies? Speaking of the Goonies, I don't know if you guys have been seeing this interview with Josh Brolin, where he's sitting down, and I can't remember the guy who interviews his name, but he interviews a lot of people. He's a very good interviewer. But Josh Brolin has just been like, his interview, he's just spinning gold. To listen to this man talk about how he was in the Goonies, and then he hit a rut for like 30 years of his life, and nothing came back around until he did. I just watched it the other day, the Denzel Washington movie where he plays like the gangster from New York. Showed up at the Ali fight in the mink coat. American Gangster, I think it was. Like, until he did American Gangster, he was literally making like no money. And it was just really kind of nice to hear it, being like, you know what, maybe I don't pop off right now. Maybe I'm doing this for the next 10 years, and I make a movie in 10 years that blows up and does whatever. But you know what? I love what I do. I love the fact that I have a fan base that shows up and hangs out with me late night on Friday night. We get to talk about movies, and slowly but surely we'll grow this community, and we'll keep making projects. And 2025 will be a good place for us to showcase stuff. So it gave me a lot of hope, and I think that's American Gangster. You got it, Eric. What do I think of the Freddy versus Jason Ash comics? I think they're all right. I don't love that they go they hang so much on the Necronomicon. But I haven't read them in a long time. I'd have to go back and reread them. I know I like the first one, and then the second one I thought it started to kind of dip. Again, like the Friday the 13th comics just don't often do it for me. I don't feel like the storytelling is very good. I believe that. I also believe it should be an animated movie. There's that. Oh yeah, there is another. You just reminded me. There's another project that I'm attached to that's sort of like in the wings. Which, when we announce this, if this gets announced, we're waiting for an approval from somebody. This is going to blow the doors off the fan film world. It is a fan film, and people are going to lose their fucking minds. It would be the coolest thing. I got asked to be a part of it. I'm very honored. I hope it happens. I think for the fans, I hope it happens. It's not related to Never Hike Alone, but it is Friday the 13th, and it's going to be really, really rad. I'm on the top of the world, but I just don't realize it. I mean, I am. Like, I'm on the top of the world. The fact that I have a family who loves me, and I have a family that I love. I get to make movies. I made something that people know. I do appreciate that. Trust me, I get that. I would just like to be able to pay my bills for the next 5 years and know that I don't have to worry about shit. I can just make movies. But right now, I'm grinding in the streets. I'm coming home. I'm working at this computer every single day. But I am in therapy, and I am working to take breaks and learning how to slow down and just take things one day at a time instead of trying to do everything at once and throw too much on my plate. Obviously, I just pitched 12 different projects here. So definitely I'm going to stay busy, obviously, but I'm taking things, slower in pace, and I'm not, knocking myself out too much. In your opinion, does Jason recognize anyone's beside Tommy? I think he would recognize any of the final girls, for sure. Although if they got older, I don't know if he would make that recognition. But yeah, definitely. That's the dream, Mr. Poole. Mr. Poole? What am I, a Deadpool? Let me see, any other game? Oh, I would love to do it. It's not that. I would love to do that, though. I would love to do that, but it is not that. Although, I'll say this. It could be. Let me see, anything in there? I'm just seeing if there's any more questions. Yeah, I'll have to admit that I'm running out a little bit of a gas. I had Muay Thai tonight. We had testing tonight, which was nice. And it kicked our ass. So I'm definitely running out of steam. I actually did this tonight at 10 because I thought I had a meeting at 9. Like, I had Muay Thai 7:30 to 8:30. I thought I had a meeting at 9. That meeting got canceled after I set this at 10. So I went, but I actually needed it because I literally sat over there for like 30 minutes when I got back from class and just like breathed, and then took a shower and then got out here so I could hang out with you guys. What about Chopping Mall? They're remaking that. That's already being remade. So what was that project you were about to talk about? Oh, I can't talk about it. I can't talk about it. But no, those are all the projects that are kind of on the horizon. Is that there? I saw Cecil in the chat. Cecil has a project that he's working on. Obviously, he has an original project that we're working on. I don't know if he wants to announce it quite yet, so I won't say it out loud. Dylan's new Nightmare 2 is still in the works. We're still kind of pulling together the pieces for that. I know everyone's excited about that coming to fruition. Jason Rising 2 is in the works. I know, where is he? James is somewhere in here, but he's been working on that, and working on a concept that I think will work for everybody. Doing my really it me? Yeah. I think that makes sense. I think I would make a decent Johnny Cage in a fan film. I'd be the older Johnny Cage, the one who's just like kind of like in the new movie. I'm actually really excited for the new Mortal Kombat to come out. They're sort of making the Friday the 13th related one. Yeah, I can't talk about it because the person who's supposed to be a part of it needs to get permission first. So once that happens, then we'll talk about it. It's not my project, but I am overseeing it, type thing. Because that's the one thing about doing multiple Friday the 13th fan films is that all of a sudden when anybody wants to make one, they contact me. And though most of them are, I gave a hint, Moy. I gave a hint. There, you go back and watch this afterwards, and I'm not going to make it there. And I will say this: if you scroll through my history of tweets and posts and things like that, I've thrown out little hints here and there. And it seemed like, it just seemed like a generic question. You know what I mean? But there's definitely some, if you can look deep enough and you can find it, you may be able to kind of put the pieces together. They're out there. What did I think of Jason in Mortal Kombat? I thought that he was 90% there. It was a lot. Listen, I played with him every single time. Like, I loved him. I just thought that they did something. They didn't do the face well, I don't think. Like, the mask never came off, but when they showed the face of what was under, it didn't look great. Wasn't a huge fan of the shape of the mask. I actually have a replica of it. It's kind of odd. But other than that, he was kind of OP in that game. He was like, you could kick the shit out of people in there. Am I wearing a windbreaker? No, it's more of like a waffle knit, just zip up because it's cold. I'm in the Northeast. It's 20 degrees out right now. Been freezing my ass out there. What about the game Manhunt? That would be just is that a name for a movie yet? Manhunt. That'd just be good. Just do like Surviving the Game, just with a different name. Speaking of that, who's seen Surviving the Game? Isn't that one of the greatest movies of all time? I got to go back. Maybe I'll go back and watch that pretty soon. So let me see. I think that does it for questions. And I think that's going to do it for me tonight, guys. It's 11:10 out here. had a long week, had a long couple of weeks. I know I came in energized and I'm all ready to go, but definitely tired. But thank you for hanging out. Thank you for checking in. Thank you for getting all the updates on Womp Stomp Films. If you ever have any questions for us, you can always contact us at wompstompfilms@gmail.com. I will get back to you usually within a day or two. Make sure, if you haven't yet, support the late pledge campaign. Look out for new stuff. Look out for the release of the game in a couple of weeks, and we'll see what we're doing with that. Support independent filmmakers, all that fun stuff. Support this channel. Make sure you're watching stuff, sharing it around. If somebody doesn't know, any of if you're in Providence, make sure, again, next week at Buttonwood Brewery, 50 Sims Ave, starting at 8 p.m., Friday the 13th. Never Hike in the Snow, right into Jason X. It's going to be an amazing time. And Buttonwood Brewery, if you haven't been there yet, it's awesome. They have obviously they have a bunch of beer, but they also have a great food. I think it's called like the Pink Unicorn or something like that. They have like a food place inside the Buttonwood Brewery. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name, but lots of really, really good stuff. We'll be back in 2 weeks on, what would that make it? December 20th. We'll be back on December 20th, pre-Christmas show. Hopefully I'll have more Never Hike Alone swag that will be landing, like Never Hike, the Final Cut shirts and sweatshirts, and stuff should be coming in. The Blu-ray covers should be coming in, so I have lots of cool stuff to show. If you haven't watched Freebirds, make sure you guys watch Freebirds. Help me get another coffee. I get like $20 in residuals when I get them, $20 to $50 every quarter, really. Oh, there's a Manhunter. Yes, I am. Yeah, I do. I love Manhunter. Michael Mann directed that, I believe. It stars the guy from CSI Miami. Miami? Or just CSI? I can't remember. Anyway, thank you for hanging out. It was a pleasure having you all here. And until 2 weeks from now, I will see you all on the trails. Have a great weekend.